Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Guile here, and welcome back to the Forged Alliance Forever promotional series. It is 1v1 ladder action this afternoon, going down on Polar Depression. That is today's map, not my midwinter mood. That's thankfully far off in the distance. It's nice actually to see some user-generated content. The map gen, which we've seen a lot of lately, is all well and good. Fantastic piece of kit though it is, but still there's no substitute for human creativity, especially when it looks like this. We'll talk more about the map in just a moment. First of all, let's give these guys some time and allow them to make their entrances. A little bit of a delay here. They seem reluctant. Perhaps something bad happened on this map in a previous life. Up here at the top in the red corner, we have Raider going UEF, opening first land, and his opponent today down here in the south in the blue corner, which isn't really the corner at all, the southern edge, you know what I mean. It is Morax. He's rocking Aeon today, opening first land. So there we have it. The map, that is not what it looks like. Excuse that, I took a screenshot and everything. Damn hotkeys. That is the reclaim situation. Got there in the end. Yeah, a little solid amount of reclaim over at the cross. Decent amount up at the top right and top left hand corners. I think there's basically going to be 3 approaches that they're going to have to cover. Over here, of course, in the center, and over here, imagine 3 armies. Both of these guys are going to have to think about deploying, or 3 forces at least. The com might handle a portion of that share to begin with. And we've got a couple of these. I love these little civilian bases. Look, reminds me of the snow level in Warring Conflict. If you ever played that, fantastic single player campaign. I reckon it probably still holds up today if you can get your hands on it. Do check that out. But yeah, nice to see those little user creations. I probably should have done what I didn't do, and that is allow you to examine their frigid openings. That is what they look like today. Land factory, couple of mass extractors, 3 P-gens, and then 2 more mass extractors by the looks of things for Morax. Where's the second one? Oh no, he's going with a really unique play. What do we have here? We went 4 mass extractors, land factory for Raider, and then a couple of P-gens, and he's then going to go P-gen all the way into air factory. We are getting second air as well for Morax, so he's playing a consistent play with that, but he still hasn't built that 4th core mass point, and he's going to be going for that, I think, after this P-gen, which should complete any second, and he's just about in range, so playing things pretty tight with his build distances, but he's an old hand. He knows what he's doing. He's actually the first to get some sort of harassment units out onto the field. We've got a flare there, over there you see, and we've also got a flare making its way out west towards that left edge of the screen. Both of these chappies have their own affiliated scouts, so they're going to have some decent vision. What are we looking at for generated eco? Well, Raider has been up slightly for a little while there, but it's 13 mass per tick. Reclaim, he was up for a while, but Morax has now overtaken him. I imagine he'll be popping into the lead with that. Yes, he is. It's 2k harvested, 2.1k versus 1.9k harvested in favor of Morax. Raider gets his air factory online. Morax slightly behind the curve on that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 P-gens versus 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 P-gens. So an ever so slightly developmental advantage slightly there for Raider. He's going to go 3rd land. Morax also going 3rd land, but not quite working on that there yet for Raider. Raider getting that extra T1 P-gen in. How are their power balances looking? Well, there's plenty of power as far as Raider's concerned. Well, maybe not actually. It's only plus 88. Morax, is he short on power? Yes, he is. So maybe, just maybe, Raider's build just a smidge more efficient. How's the eco looking now? Morax now falling behind, I'm guessing with some of these issues he's having with power stalling. Go back to Observer. You can see both of their bases in their entirety. We already have a scout plane out circling the field for Raider. That's what he can see. He's got a good read on the base. Morax, that's what he can see. No read yet on Raider's base. And I think we can afford to go back to single screen, lest that get a little too confusing on the eyes there. One of the flares has been dispatched, probably by this chappie. Yeah, he's got 2 kills to his name. So I'm guessing that was the dead scout that we've just seen. And at some point he's massacred a flare. It was probably this poor sod over here to the west. Some Aeon wreckage, but there is another flare over in the top left-hand corner, but no easy pickings. The only thing coming his way at the moment is another striker, which of course he's unlikely to manage to kill off. Oh, there is one dead unit there. So has he got a kill? He has got a kill. So the engineer that was heading on his way to grab this mass point had just built this one, which has also taken some damage. Didn't make it. He got taken out. And now that flare running for his life and or looking for the next target. So first blood maybe to Morax, although I guess Raider did manage to kill the other flare on the other side of things. And it hasn't really, well, I suppose it's slowed up Raider's development a little bit. We've got some mexes out here, which will have to wait just a smidge longer to get their engineers out to them, to plonk some mass points down on them. Couple of inties circling in this top left quadrant, but Morax is hopelessly outnumbered, so not planning to win the day there. And this bomber now, with one kill to its name, will be vulnerable. What's it working on at the moment? Presently, it looks like this mass point. That's going to get a bomb. Needs a second one to take out that next batch of 200 hit points. Isn't going to get it. The escort detail, or security detail, I should say, for that top left quadrant, handling things nicely. That flare still alive, running for its life with 43 hit points on the clock, being chased by this striker. Striker, I think, was probably going to be just a little bit slower than that lab. Another one moves out, another two, in fact, move out from the base, but they failed to keep up with it. And there are now mexes over here in the top right hand corner, and hydros, in fact, which are potentially vulnerable. But it's going to take a while for a lab to chew its way through all of that HP. Not a major threat. How are things developing now? So we've got a strong stream of units out from Morax heading up the central crevice. There's a dirty word for you. Moving right up the middle of the map. Grabbing themselves a mex kill and an engineer kill. That radar is begging for it. There it goes. Can't allow the enemy to hold on to valuable pieces of intel like that. So Morax has moved out to the east with his commander, and it looks like Raider is going in the opposite direction. So we're not going to get any com-on-com action, at least in the early game, inside the first 10 minutes. These guys moving in opposite directions. It is all going to come down to army play. Raider rocking the UEF. More tanky units. Morax's units are lower on HP, but have a ranged advantage, at least with the T1 Auroras versus the Strikers. So Morax is going to need to be hot with his micro, but we are already at Tech 2, and the first thing off the conveyor belt for Raider is a mongoose, and he absolutely trashes those couple of T1 units filing into the main base courtyard there from Morax. Taking a look at eco, 53 apiece at current reading. Morax about 1k up on Raider in terms of total mass accrued. Is that reclaim related? Well, it really is. Look at that, 2.3k versus 1.1k. Morax with double the reclaim of his opponent inside this first 10-minute period. Morax was thinking about throwing down a land factory. Got about halfway through the build progress before being forced to abandon it. Raider just posturing with some of his forces. He's thrown down a little PD and a radar back here for a little fallback point in case things get too heavy. But I think he could dust this aside without too many problems. But he's probably unsure just what's waiting for him. He hasn't got great intel up in this portion of the map. We, of course, have the benefit of full sight. What's happening over here in the air game? Fighters chasing each other around the map. Raider going to pull his inties back to his side. Definitely with a minor advantage. What are we looking at here? 5 inties on the field for Raider versus 4 for Morax. Practically at parity now. How's generated eco looking now? Morax about 10 mass per tick up on his opponent at the moment. So that's an interesting development. So far, this 180 odd ranking point advantage Raider has on paper, not really meaning a great deal. Certainly not yielding him any early advantage or anything like that. A little bit of further T1 artillery fire, just harassing this position. He's taken down that Tech 1 point defense, and now he's going to posture with his comm, and then he thinks better of it. Morax playing a cagey game here, very non-committal, very light touch on aggression. But Raider not steaming in on the other side either. He's got a couple of mongoose surrounding his comm. I guess both of these guys concerned what might be lurking on the air front. Neither of them have much in the way of air cover for their commanders. It would be very easy to miss something at this point. Your opponent suddenly switching it up to T2 air and then arriving on the scene with a bunch of fighter bombers, or Janus if you're talking about Raider at least. Option not available, of course, to the Aeons and Morax, but he could turn up with a bunch of Spectres, which would have a similar effect. Aurora's massing over here in this left-hand corner side now. We've got left-hand edge, rather. 22 Auroras and 4 Fervors versus a couple of Mongoose and about 5 or 6 Thams. Raider is over here, still unupgraded. Morax, how are we looking? Have you thrown on an upgrade on your comm? No, you haven't. These guys haven't had the time for it, plain and simple. We have got T2 units on the field for Morax. Interestingly, pumping out blazes. They're cheaper, of course, than the very, very sturdy Obsidian tanks, but dish out a lot less pain, that's for sure. And there's no water here for that floaty advantage to mean much. Mongoose filtering in now from multiple directions into this top left corner, and it's still solidly a T1 situation for Morax over here in the left. There are the T2 factories. Most of the T2 units are being sent down the center, so this could be a weak point, especially with Raider over here with his comm. Where is Morax going? So he's pulled his commander away from that eastern position. Why? Because he wanted to throw an upgrade down, and he has gone for gun, and that's proceeding in a very timely fashion. He's full bar on mass storage, pretty much. Net negative now with that upgrade proceeding on power, but that will complete long before the tank empties on his power reserves. 12 minutes down, and now we're starting to see some of those Obsidians enter the fray. Mongoose mounting in number. Ooh, and a parashield moving up front. Some nice unit comp from these players. We've even got some flak to boot. Skyboxers flanking these units. Be a problem for any T1 bomber spam or any gunships that suddenly materialize. Are we seeing any T2 air on the way for Morax? Not so far, not that I can tell, unless he's sequestered that air HQ somewhere else on the map. I don't think he has. Are we seeing any air HQs materializing from Raider? Are we seeing... where have we got? Just one. Only one air factory. So he is very light touch on air production. Gun upgrade about to complete. Ticks over to 100%. At second gun, excuse me. So he went straight for double gun. So now we have an Aeon sniper comm. It's absolutely bottomed him out on power production. And it's still empty, so he's really not keeping up too well. Trying to get a handle on that by erecting a second T2 P-Gen. For a moment, that will be stalling his eco. But he's still out massing Raider. Well, just was momentarily. Fluctuates up and down, but he's got some reclaim coming in. I think that's probably explaining it. He's a double the reclaim pretty much. Battle brewing over in the west. Mongooses and blazes going at one another. Those mongooses, of course, benefiting from the cover of that parashield. Still, Raider is going to continue to fall back. Doesn't like the numbers on the field there. I don't blame him. And now we've got double gun com Morax moving up on these units in the Far East. There's quite a lot of T2 there. Needs to be a little bit careful. Have we got any upgrades on the way for Raider? No, he is still unupgraded. How will Morax fare? That's what he can see.
Commander under
He's
attack.
well aware of the numbers. Takes the first few rounds and then backs off a little bit. Some of his associated T1 and T2 spam in the area takes some fire also between moving back and joining their commander. Raider looking like he's slowly pushing the forces back in the west also. There is a large line of T2 down here. We've also got Asylum shield gens powering up as Morax gets his power grid under control. Net positive 500 now. That's looking a little bit better. Lots and lots of these shield gens, mobile shield gens entering service now. So Morax backed up. A little bit of a run-by attempt down the right-hand side by Raider. That's going to be covered by Morax's forces. Morax going to move his comm back up towards this position. Maybe because this force is on the move now, moving towards the center. I don't know whether this is just going to make a push to join these other forces on the western approach, or whether they're going to tack down the middle and try and make a run at the base. Chariot airdropping troops to the front line. Now we're starting to see Tech 3 enter service. We've got Titans out from Raider. Raider who's now up by about 10 mass per tick. 10 or 11 mass. But he is down 10k overall. That's a huge amount to be off the pace. And at least 4k of that, 3k, sorry, I can't read, it's reclaim related, but still, 10k, 9-10k down, that is not ideal. He's managed to bag Morax 2 upgrades on that commander, which he's going to use to inflict heavy casualties on these eastern forces. Threw a little overcharge in there for good measure, why not? Shield doing its job, blocking a lot of fire. So that force didn't tack down the middle. Instead, it did proceed on to the western approaches. And now we've got a bit of sandwich action, and not in a good way, heading for Morax's western army. Raider coming at him from 2 positions. Reinforcements moving up the center and then tacking left to come in behind that reinforcing set of units. But look at the run-by. Lovely little push. He moves the comm up, busts that position, and sends the forces up into the backfield in the top right-hand corner. There is a single T1 PD lurking, but that brooks no real defense against this combination of Auroras, Blazes, and a little Harbinger in there for a good measure. All of these Hydros now under threat. Raider bringing back his comm. Still unupgraded though. Not really a force to be reckoned with. Raider slowly eating into this overall advantage that Morax has had. It's now down to about an 8k differential, down from 10. Current income 114 to 110, although that was 120 to 108 a moment ago. Morax continuing to move up the center. Another Harbinger in there. Another couple of them, in fact, but not getting a lot of them out. And there are 3 Titans in the mix, along with a whole bunch of Mongoose. So Morax didn't like the look of that little play up around the back. Bagged himself a couple of hydrocarbons, a couple of mexes, I thought that's enough for today, Gov, and withdraws before those Titans can really press. He's going to run into a couple of more Titans that have come direct from the base, and a third moving up. It's going to be a very bad day for all these tinfoil Auroras in the center of the pack here. Obsolete tech does what it's good at this time in the game, and that is dying and donating its mass. Engineers being airlifted to the central crevice from Morax to continue their reclaim operations. How's the reclaim looking now? Well, still a solid advantage for Morax. 7.5k to 4.3. Kill loss, what are we looking at? Raider has actually done really well on the kill loss. He's at 1.3, Morax at 0.72. And that is why we are still looking at a relatively even game, despite the fact that Morax is 10k ahead overall, and he's managed to reclaim that 10k advantage up from 8 just a few moments ago. 20 minutes gone. We are still none the wiser about the way this game is going. But Morax faring well, it has to be said, for giving up 180 ranking points on paper. Now, what's this? That's a sizable band of Titans moving up from Raider, though, onto that lower terrace of the bottom right-hand corner topography. Gonna bag himself a couple of T1 mechs kills. Morax won't be too concerned about that. Much more concerned about the approach into the main base here, especially with the power grid angled at that corner and potentially vulnerable. But Titans not pushing particularly hard and fast. There's the second order. One is sent up onto the next terrace. T1 bombers dispatched to pressure them to turn around. Turn around they do, and they actually evade that bombing run very nicely. How are we looking at interceptor numbers? 35 T1 interceptors on the field for Raider, compared to 68 for Morax. So a definite air advantage for our Aeon player. Still producing Titans, not pumping out those Percys as yet. I spoke a little too soon. There are now Percys on the field moving out from the main base. This one heading down the center. You can see there's one ahead of it already near the midpoint of the map. Once again, Western armies clash. Morax doing his best to micro maneuver, utilize what ranged advantages he has, although the Mongoose with their long Gatling guns and their grenade launchers do take the edge off that advantage somewhat. That is a nice angle of attack though, with Raider presenting his formation badly. Morax going to move in for the kill on that engage. And the rest of those forces are going to bug out. Where are the Percivals though? They are beginning to file down the middle here. T1 bombers continuing to harass these Titans. You can see quite a few of them partially damaged now. Only a few with active shields running. In come the interceptors from Raider. And that will hand a massive aerial win over to Morax, who solidifies his position as the dominant air player in this game. 23 minutes gone. And are we beginning to see cracks in Raider's play? That little attack that was going nicely down here has been shooed away. Victory, partial victory at the moment in the west for Morax, and total victory in the skies in the recent engagement. Morax now feeling emboldened enough to move up with his commander and try and put down this little Titan rebellion in the east. Actually didn't fare as well as I thought it would. Oh, and he's gonna go for a shield upgrade on his comm. Give him some more sturdiness to go with that double gun. And 6 more NGs airdropped up towards the commander. I wonder if they're just coming primarily to help assist this upgrade and get it done quicker. Can always go about their reclaim activities afterwards, or maybe they're going after the reclaim. You can see there's a decent amount of it up here. About 6,000 odd just in those 2 piles of mass poop. Getting some assistance there from Harbingers as we approach 25 minutes. And Raider just looking a little thin on the ground here. But he has transitioned to Tech 3 Air. You can see a couple of air superiority fighters out on the field. Will that, however, be a mistake? That will have taken a solid investment in eco. And his western flank has just crumbled. He's about to lose 3 Tech 2 mexes up here. Mass production for Raider drops down to about 148 from the 160s it was at a moment ago. Another vulnerable T2 mechs up here. However, there are Percivals moving in to intercept. How many Harbs do we have in play up here? Wow, quite a lot. There's 17 Harbingers in here. Morax isn't messing around, guys. He's got a decent amount of kit on the field. Morax completed that shield upgrade on his personal little vanguard of T1 and T2. Oh, but a strap bomber straight in takes out 2 of the Tech 2 reactors. Has that disabled the power grid? Well, he's net negative. He's about to run out of power with current expenditure at any moment. That's going to drop his mass production from 143 to 106 now that that's bottomed out. There goes the other 2 reactors. Now he's net negative 1,600 power. That was an absolutely brutal body blow, and he's not done yet. Down goes another one. He's only got 1 T2 reactor left. Just shows you what a sneaky little upgrade to T3 Air can do. Can he get the final bomb away? Yes, he does. And there goes the final T2 reactor, and Morax's power grid is shot. Absolutely blown out. However, Raider's got his own problems. That little force we saw moving up in that top left-hand quadrant makes it all the way to the main base. We now have vulnerable reactors in the backfield for Raider. Morax needs to get his forces away from those reactors before he detonates them, otherwise he's going to lose a bunch of those units. But he's focusing at the moment on the T3 Land HQ, wants to stop the production of these Percivals, the only units that can really kill off this force in any timely fashion. Down goes the headquarters. There are, however, a few Percivals in play already. Down go the reactors. What's that done to Raider's power grid? Well, he's positive 800 net power. Oh! What on earth? How? Just how? Was that a Control K? That must have been a Control K. I saw nothing. Absolutely nothing. Just wow. I think that was a surrender. And you know what we're going to do? We're going to do something I hardly ever do. We are going to check. It's only a 28-minute game, so we're going to do a little recap here. I'm going to reload this, and you guys and I are just going to check, because let's face it, that is pretty important. But I didn't see a sniper tent. I think that was Raider just like, you know what? I think you've got me. There's no way out. He'd lost both of the flanks on the left and right, and there was no real way out of that. So we're at 10 minutes already. Lots and lots of jostling on the flanks, left and right. That was a lovely little T3 strap bomber bombing run, though, that took out the power grid, but alas, didn't have anything substantial on the ground to stall that attack that came up through that top left quadrant. I was actually expecting Morax's comm to feature a little bit more in that with that double gun upgrade, but he didn't really need to. He played it very careful. Always concerned that there might have been some kind of Janus or gunship rush lurking. Got to be just a little bit more careful in 1v1 ladder. Haven't got teammates to rely on to pick up the slack. So there's the upgrade to T3 Air. You can see him spitting out that strap bomber. Look how long that strap bomber took to produce. And there is the movement. Slow it down slightly, the movement into the main base, and there's nothing near the comm, and it was just a Control K. But, I mean, was that necessary? We know that Morax's power was absolutely smoked. He had decimated it. Well, not that that's the right word, to destroy a tenth of. He destroyed all of it. What was he working on? He was working on a new reactor. He will have needed at least 3 of those, I think, just to get into a solid state. Yeah, there was a 4, so if he could have found a way to eliminate that, and I think he would have done. Look, he's got 1, 2, 3, 4 Perseus. I think he could have easily dealt... I mean, yeah, look, there's 3 Blazers in here, 3 Auroras. What did he have over here? Had a couple of Percivals... And he had a decent little force moving down here, chasing away 2 Harbingers and a bunch of Auroras. Yeah, the comm would have been able to defend that position. But I don't know, guys. That game wasn't over. Oh, I suppose he'd lost the T3 land HQ, so producing more. It would have been a real come-from-behind scenario. But I don't think he appreciated quite how well he crippled this base, but he just kind of lost the will to live. There was a decent number of Harbs down here. So, sad he didn't decide to fight on. But, yeah, I think he could have made a go of that, or he could have strung it out at least. But I hope you enjoyed it nonetheless, guys. I certainly did. More to come from me in the future. Don't forget, if you feel so inclined, if you've seen most of the content, there are regular premium quality casts that go up without any ads in them. Available on my Patreon, guys. It's just $1 a month. Check in the description below this video on the details for that. It's the best way to support me. If you like the content, do give us a like, subscribe, and tell us what you thought of the game down there in the comments. Until next time, though, guys, stay well and stay safe. This is Guile, signing out.